on the road again. I'm pumped. You know, I made such a big deal about it in my last video, I better just share the whole resolution. I did my jury service, but I was instructed to not speak of it. So I'll just say it was quick and to the point, and I get 2 years of no jury service. So I am on the way to Cincinnati, Ohio, because I am going to return to the Ohio to Erie Trail. I rode this once before. If you endured that video, I think that's the longest video I ever posted on YouTube. It's, I think it's like 4.5 hours long. You know, they say that the optimal length for a YouTube video is 5 minutes. So I'm off by a little bit, just a little bit. But I'm gonna go ride it over 4 days. I'm not gonna do all of it, unfortunately. I'm only gonna do the first 220 so miles. For a lot of reasons. I'm meeting some friends. I'll just leave it there. I'm gonna ride from Cincinnati up to Millersburg, Ohio, and visit some friends. I might go a little bit further than that. We'll see. See how it works out. But got a little rain in the forecast, but you know what I'm excited about? It's fall, and it's finally starting to feel like fall, and you know what?
Police reported ahead.
Police are reported ahead. The trees are starting to change, finally. I wondered if the trees were ever gonna change. Anyway, welcome. Hope you enjoy it as much as I do. You know, oftentimes visitors to this fine city will look at this bridge and they will say, you know what, that looks like the Brooklyn Bridge. And you know, Cincinnatians are patient, kind people. But a good Cincinnatian will quickly and firmly point out that no, the Brooklyn Bridge looks like the Roebling Suspension Bridge. Because in 1860... Oh, it's right there, 1865. John Roebling built this bridge. And it has been a fixture on the Cincinnati skyline ever since. And I think it was, I'm gonna go with 20 years. I'll flash up the right number, but 20 years later, he took all the beauty of this design and built the Brooklyn Bridge in New York City. So, you know, New York, you've been first in a lot of things, but I'm sorry, this came first. And I'm sorry, I failed to point out that this is the official start of the Ohio to Erie Trail, right here at the Roebling Suspension Bridge. Oh, there's an old couple back there, older couple, sweet couple. They saw me taking video of the bridge and then basically just repeated everything that I just said. I should have let them do the video, that would have been better. You're gonna have to be extra patient with me in the beginning of this video, because for those of you that know me, have been members of this channel for a while, subscribers, I'm from Cincinnati, so I'm gonna give you a lot of factoids about this fine city. So again, be patient. You know, you don't get too far outside of downtown, well, not even out of downtown, before you run into two really interesting distinctions about the state of Ohio. The state of Ohio was the birthplace of baseball and the birthplace of the NFL. The Cincinnati Red Stockings were the first baseball team, 1889, I think. And of course the NFL was founded in Canton, Ohio, which is where the Football Hall of Fame is located. So interesting distinction. Little Ohio, the birthplace of two big sports. For those that don't know, Cincinnati was named after a Roman general, Cincinnatus. I don't think he was this big in real life. All right, I told you be patient. I don't know when this was built, and I'm sorry, there's some sort of festival going on and they've got things set up. But down here on the ground is a trail, and it ends right here. And what it is a history of, well, what? Earth? Every block is 1 million years. And you gotta be really, you know, you gotta be very observant here, because there's this little tiny strip. And what that stands for is the last 5,500 years of recorded history. I mean, it's a quarter of an inch thick, and every one of these bricks is 1 million years. So we're gonna go ride it all the way to the end, and I think I'm just gonna leave the camera going. I think there's 500 bricks, so, you know, and as you ride along, you start seeing like the rise of different, you know, dinosaurs, and then, you know, all the different life that sprang up over time. But that little tiny strip, that's recorded history. Little perspective. Dinosaurs. There's the Triassic period. There's the beginning of trees. There's some insects. There's the Pennsylvanian period. We're 350 million years old. There's the Mississippian period. Wouldn't you know? There's no way I did that justice, but I don't know how you could do it justice. 450 squares, 450 million years. And most of that, there's nothing. It's just a blank square. And then every once in a while, you see, starts off with a trilobite. And then some, you know, squishy stuff. It's amazing. And then some dinosaurs. And then again, a quarter of an inch of time represents our recorded history. Well, the forecast says it's going to be like this pretty much all day, so I'm gonna make the best of it. I was sort of hoping it might blow over, but well, anyway. So anyway, Little Lunken Airport here. Little Lunken Airport used to be really hopping. It was like the main airport prior to the construction of Greater Cincinnati Airport, which I don't remember when that was built. But a funny little tidbit, Greater Cincinnati Airport is located deep into Kentucky. You know, it's not like along the river or just off the river. It's in Kentucky. I can't tell you how many people have flown in, that I know, have flown into Greater Cincinnati and get freaked out that they are in Kentucky. But it is so. Anyway, Lunken is basically, it's a public airport, but it's all private planes and some small commercial business. But many years ago, they built this wonderful loop around the airport. I just grew up the hill here, yours truly, in the little community of Mount Washington. I have spent many a time, I would lose count of how many times I ran this loop. You know, obviously, the Ohio River played a big part in Cincinnati's history, but it plays a big part in its current events as well. If you're ever looking for an opportunity to visit Cincinnati, around Labor Day is Riverfest, and it's a huge party along the river. People gather around the Serpentine Wall, and it culminates in a fireworks display that is one of the greatest. I don't know if it's still sponsored by the local radio station, WEBN, but they used to do a like a choreography of rock and roll music with the fireworks. Really beautiful around Labor Day, and great time to see the city at its best. They also used to have something called tall stacks, where riverboats would come along the river and you go down and tour them. That was very cool. And then there's an Oktoberfest, because Cincinnati's a very German town, still is. I read a statistic that back in the mid-1800s, Cincinnati was 65% German. So anyway, the Oktoberfest has grown over the years into another great event. So there you go, from the Brian Cincinnati Tourism Board. 3 dates, 3 times to come to Cincinnati. Is there something wrong with us? Yeah, why are we out in there? Yeah. I'm really excited about this little section here. This is brand new, well, relatively new. They connected the trail to another little trail. They built a trail that goes now through Newtown from Lunken Airport, and it takes you off some of the worst roads on the Ohio to Erie Trail. If you ask me, they're really busy. The roads are bad, potholes everywhere. So this little section here, I'm very excited. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Wow. Well done. So that sign's no joke. It floods here. It floods here often. This entire field area, including Lunken Airport, can be several feet underwater. That's just something we grew up with. I am so impressed with this trail and that connector. I probably owe an apology to my buddy Carl. Carl's probably laughing right now. When we did the OTET a while back, he said, come on, let's just go down through Newtown. And I was worried because that, you know, there was nothing to get over the bridge that goes over the Little Miami River. But I was worried about nothing. Carl, we should have done it, buddy. I'm sorry. As is the case often, I was wrong. This little section through here always kind of makes me laugh because well, years ago when they opened the Loveland bike trail, it starts just a little bit further up here in the town of Milford. They wanted to keep going, and this little area is called Terrace Park. And Terrace Park just, I mean, you want to talk about falling on your sword over something. They refuse to even consider extending the bike trail because it was going to bring in crime. And and now you ride through this beautiful tree-lined path alongside the Little Miami River and these beautiful homes. I want to go back and ask those people, hey, what do you think now? Rail trails are awesome. They're awesome. I didn't realize this was Indian Hill. Sign said, welcome to Indian Hill. I thought Indian Hill was a lot further away. Well, I'll tell you what, a little heads up. You gotta look out for walnuts. This thing is big. If you hit one of those, you're going down. Alright, as you know, these are ride-along videos, so this is as if you're riding along with me. And if you've ever ridden along with me in real life, you know we're going to talk a lot. And some of the stuff we're going to talk about is going to be incredibly random. Well, back there a ways, crossing over the Little Miami River just reminded me of a story from my childhood that I've been laughing about inside the whole time. I grew up with a buddy. His name was Brian also, and we weren't troublemakers, but we got into mischief. Maybe that's the right word. Mischief. We were mischievous. So one day we decided we were going to go on an adventure in the woods. I think we were probably maybe 12, maybe younger. Anyway, we went out in the woods. You know, we had nothing else to do. It's back in the day when your parents, you know, you could just go, come back at dinner time, nobody said anything. We went out in the woods. We got totally lost. Surprise, surprise! Turned around. Surprise, surprise. Then I grew up and was unable to navigate places. Anyway, whoa! Hey, that was interesting. Check this out. These little bolts came off. I was incredibly lucky to walk back the trail, and about 50 feet down there they were laying on the trail after a big old bump. I am so incredibly thankful that I found those bolts, nuts, whatever, connectors. I carry a bunch of zip ties as emergency kit, and I was looking at them thinking, I guess I could zip tie it on and try to get to a bike shop and see if I can buy a new rear rack. That's where my mind was at. And I thought, how does this thing attach? Anyway, went back. There they were, laying in the middle of the trail in a pile of leaves. This is Miamiville, little town of Miamiville, and that is a really great little brewery there. It's just too early to stop. The Trail Yard, Miamiville Trail Yard. All right, big time respect to, I don't know how you pronounce the company name. Thule? Fool? I drugged those bags on this pavement for probably a good 30 feet. There's not a scratch on them. So I don't know if I pointed out, this was the site of the Little Miami Railroad. A rail trail. Couldn't tell already. Little detour here. I'm sorry, I forgot my story. Oh, I forgot. Sorry. Anyway, yes, my last time on Adventures with Brian. So, my buddy Brian and I got lost. And the reason I'm thinking we were pretty young is the way we reacted. You know, when you're with your buddy, you get lost and you go, okay, well, my buddy knows where we're at. And then you go, hey, you know where we're at? And then it goes into, we don't know where we're at. And then there's panic. And then there's even fighting back the tears. I'll admit to that, but that's why I'm thinking we were pretty young. So, how you doing? So, anyway, we thought that was the end. We figured that was it. You know, we've been in trouble before. We've gotten out of it. There's no getting out of this one. We kept looking, and finally we came out right down there on the Little Miami River. I'll put an arrow to show you. We came out there. Well, you know, we thought, oh, we're saved. And then there was a little creek. I couldn't really see it when I went over the bridge, but it was raining and my glasses were all, you know, messed up. It was about this time of year. I mean, it was cool. And, you know, I just had on a pair of jeans and probably a sweatshirt and my one pair of gym shoes that I wore everywhere, and we had to cross that creek, and it was cold and it was muddy and nasty, but we did it. And then we walked all the way home. And do you remember in Tom Sawyer when he faked his death and then he attended his own funeral? Remember that story? That's what I thought things were going to be like. I thought I was going to get home and my parents were, you know, going to call off the Cincinnati Police Department, Fire Department, FBI. You know, the whole community could be told, go back home. Our long lost son is home. I got home and the reality was it only been about 3 hours. And again, my parents were like, my mom just yelled at her, why are you so muddy? Well, your shoes are a mess. Go out in the backyard with a hose, clean yourself off. Never told him what happened. And for the next 6 years, my buddy Brian and I went to the same junior high school. Our school bus went over that bridge, and we looked out at that little creek, looked at one another and nodded. That's the time we cheated death. Public service announcement. When 2 screws come undone, do what I didn't do before you go on a multi-day ride. Go around your bike and check all the screws, because you know what? If 2 of them are loose, guess what? I found 2 others that were literally just hanging on by a thread. So, hanging on by a thread, is that what that means? I always thought they was talking about like a rope and a thread. Alright, here is detour number 2, which is going to be a lot more involved, unfortunately. People. Thank you again, fine people. Look, that detour is not trivial. It was supposed to be done. They're putting in a new bridge, and it was supposed to be done in the fall, and it's run over. And the website, when I checked it, said we'll continue through the rest of 23. I'd be willing to bet you that means spring of 24 at the earliest. But if you don't like riding on roads with little shoulders, then road shoulders, not your shoulders. If you have little shoulders, there's nothing wrong with you riding on the road. 1 out of 5. Yeah, anyway, not trivial, so beware. If you've been a subscriber to this channel or watching, you know it's a tradition for me to discuss famous people from the state. I'm gonna do a little different though this time, differently. I'm going to do famous people from the area in which I'm riding. I'm also learning to extend it to not just people born there, but people who are associated with or, you know, live their lives there. And I also like to throw in random references, as you know. It's perhaps a disorder, but anyway, all right. Number 1 on the list of famous Cincinnatians, the famous Pete Rose. If you want to get a Cincinnatian upset, tell them that Pete does not belong in the Hall of Fame. Pete belongs in the Hall of Fame, all right? I know what they're going to do. They're going to wait until he passes away, and then they're going to put him in the Hall of Fame, which is just nothing short of cruel. Pete, it's kind of a jerk. but he's our jerk. And if being a jerk is disqualification from being in a Hall of Fame, those Hall of Fames be awfully empty, okay? Famous person number 2, Mr. Steven Spielberg. I don't know what else to say. He grew up in Cincinnati. He was a Boy Scout in Cincinnati. I'm not sure. I think he may have achieved Eagle Scout status. I'm not totally certain. Steven Spielberg. Third, a lot of people aren't going to know this one, but Ezard Charles. If you're in Cincinnati, you've gone down to Ezard Charles Drive. Ezard Charles was a hell of a boxer. Some people say the greatest light heavyweight boxer in history. He's in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, which, by the way, Carl and I, when we rode the Erie Canal, we stayed in a hotel literally across the street from the International Boxing Hall of Fame. We had no clue what was going on. That's a legit thing. They have a week, just like Cooperstown or Hall of Fame, Football Hall of Fame. Anyway, okay, that's number 3. Number 4, George Clooney. Now, when I extend to the area, there's lots of people that claim George Clooney. A lot of places in northern Kentucky, like Fort Campbell and Augusta, Kentucky. He graduated from Augusta High School. That is a little town where my mother's from. She graduated from there. George Clooney. All right, now we're gonna move on to some others. Carmen Electra. Everybody remember Carmen Electra? I haven't heard of Carmen Electra in a long time. Julie Haggerty. Everybody's famous airplane stewardess. She was hilarious. Oh, there's one more on my list. Well, yours truly. I mean, you know, bicycle adventure, world renowned. I don't remember the other one. Anyway, I like Cincinnati. Every time I come here, I kind of miss it. You know, got married here, met my wife here. Let's step back. I'm a Mount Washington Elementary stallion, proud stallion. I'm a Walnut Hills high school grad, go Eagles, and a University of Cincinnati Bearcat. Met my dear wife there, got married here, lived here for a year, 2. All right, my wife told me I had to put that in the video. So there, dear, check the box. I did it. I've always thought of maybe coming back at some point. Just now, never worked out. But as I've gone around the world, lived in different places, seen different places, I've grown to appreciate Cincinnati far more. Solid Midwestern city, good people. What do you see? People say good stock, good stock. How you doing?
What a great fall day. Couldn't get any more fall. I could be wearing a flannel shirt, maybe. I could have hot apple cider in one of my water bottles. Otherwise, this is already 99.9% fall. I drove over this bridge this morning and thought,
I have to ride all the way up here. Yes, the Maro, I think this is called the Jetti Maro Bridge. It is quite the impressive bridge. Apologies, I left out a very important Cincinnatian. He wasn't born in Cincinnati, but he's so associated with Cincinnati, there's no way that I could let it go. And that is Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer came to Cincinnati and was a lawyer. And then he served on city council. And believe it or not, he was the mayor of Cincinnati. He was a newscaster for many years on WLWT, I think. Jerry Springer, you know, people think of him, he just died in the spring. And NBC, shame on you, NBC. They called him the pioneer of trash TV. Wow. I think Cincinnatians try to remember Jerry under slightly more dignified circumstances. Although he did have to leave office for not the greatest of reasons, but I'm not going to bring that up. You can look into that if you wish. Jerry Springer. He came and spoke to my 9th grade civics class. And quite a man. I remember we were all laughing, but we all were like, kind of wanted to be like Jerry Springer for a while. All right, as the day comes to a close, because I think I'm almost where, I think I've just got a few more miles. I'm gonna go back and rename today. I left my heart in Cincinnati. Because I've just been lost in memories today. Every time this happens when I come to Cincinnati, I go down the road or street and I see something and it just reminds me of something, I don't know, fond memories. And it's fall, so it's time to be melancholy. Well, not necessarily melancholy, just reminiscing. Okay. My final tribute to Cincinnati is going to be with regards to its fine and diverse cuisine. I don't think people are aware of the incredible food in Cincinnati. There are 3 things that I must have when I go to Cincinnati. But first, I'm going to give the B list. These are runner-ups. Mecklenburg Gardens. It's a German restaurant. There used to be a lot of German restaurants in Cincinnati, but a lot of them closed down. Mecklenburg's is fantastic. Probably the most authentic German food in Cincinnati. Aglamisi's ice cream. Yeah. United Dairy Farmers, UDF. It's a convenience store. Their ice cream's pretty good. Buskin Bakery. Cherry Cheese Crowns. And Cervati's Bakery. They have a Schnecken there that is to die for. Oh. All right, that's all runners up. The 3 are Grader's Ice Cream. Listen, I've traveled all around the world. Grader's Ice Cream is, well, in my opinion, it's the best ice cream I've ever had in my life. If you go there, you don't know what to order because there's a lot on the menu. Black raspberry chocolate chip. Whoo! I don't know if I'm too far north tonight to find a Grader's. Probably. I'd be having that if I were there. Sometimes even put a little marshmallow on top of that. Grader's, you're awesome. Second, La Rosa's Pizza. I think La Rosa's Pizza is the best. I know there's a war with a lot of different pizza places. I worked there for a couple years. And I eat so much of it, it's embarrassing. Good stuff. All right, number 1, and if you're from Cincinnati, you know what I'm going to say. Skyline Chili. Now, There are chili wars in Cincinnati. Gold Star, what, Camp Washington, I think it's called, Dixie. They're all different chili variations, but the Skyline's the king. It's fantastic. I had it last night, so roll the clips. When you go for a chili experience, first thing they do is they give you a little packet of crackers, oyster crackers, and you know, think of that as like bread at a fine restaurant. You can save them, put them on your chili, but nobody does that. They eat them. Then there's a lot of different variations, but the classics, this is a cheese coney. Cheese coney is a hot dog with chili and cheese, and sometimes I don't get onions on it, but I do get mustard, extra mustard. Fantastic. On top of that are 3 ways, 4 ways, 5 ways. A 3-way is spaghetti, chili, and cheese. A 4-way, you add either onions or beans, and a 5-way, you add both onions and beans. My favorite's a 4-way bean. That's my go-to. And if I really want to clog my arteries, I ask them for an inverted 4-way, where they make what you see right there, and then they flip it over on a plate, and then they put another layer of cheese. So it's like a cheese sandwich with chili and spaghetti, and oh, good eating. I'm going to give you advice if you ever go to Cincinnati and want to eat Skyline chili or another chili, don't just eat it once. Eat it a couple times. It's kind of a shock to the system. You might experience a little intestinal complaint, but you won't the second time, or the third, or the fourth. When I visit with the family, we eat it before we even get to where we're going to be for the day, and we almost always eat it again when we're in Cincinnati, and then we generally eat it on the way out. So anyway, thank you, Cincinnati. Great food. Thank you for the fine memories today. I love you. I miss you. And well, tomorrow we go to a new area. But thank you, Cincinnati. Fantastic. This is it. You gotta love an Airbnb that has a bike rack right inside the room. That is awesome. Good morning. Going out in search of a little breakfast here this morning. It's chilly. It's like 40 degrees. It got down to 35 last night. That seems cool for this time of year. Top of the morning to you. My goodness, what a great day yesterday. Despite the rain, despite my rear rack coming apart, great day, nice ride. You can't ride that trail and not just be blown away by the beauty. And then the stop yesterday in Waynesville. What an incredibly beautiful little town. So friendly. That's a happy place. I don't think I saw anybody without a huge smile on their face the entire time I was there. You know, I don't know about you, but I think it's one of the dangers of established kinds of trails. I get guilty of this, is, you know, you want to stay on the trail, as close to the trail as possible. And, you know, I don't know, for me, like a half mile or a mile off the trail, it's like, oh, I'm not going there, are you kidding? And, you know, Waynesville, it's not that far. I mean, maybe a mile, probably less than a mile off the trail. Beautiful little town. And major kudos to the Airbnb I stayed at last night. I would recommend that to everyone. You know, it's a little addition on the back of a beautiful old house. But, you know, I think I've said it in the past. There's so many Airbnbs that I have been to that, man, I think people aren't even trying. That place is everything that an Airbnb should be. It's really nicely decorated. It's cozy. They had a bike rack right inside the door, which is awesome. You know, I don't like bringing my bike inside someplace and leaning it against a couch and, you know, maybe accidentally getting it dirty, or I don't want to do that. And they even had some tools, bike pump and some tools right there by the door. Super comfortable. High fives. I would give that 5 highs. Is that a thing? Signs. Okay, I don't know. How you doing? You got what you need?
Yeah, we're all good.
Okay, all right, sure.
Because everybody at their house is sick.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, you can go where other people are sick, right?
Yeah.
So yesterday, we were mostly on the Little Miami Scenic Trail. Almost the whole day. Well, we started on the Ohio River Trail, but that was just a little... No, actually, that was quite a while. That was that was a while. Anyway, something people may not know about the OTET is that it's a collection of a lot of trails. I'm gonna scroll them right there. See all those trails? So we just left the Little Miami Scenic Trail, and now we're on. I missed the sign. Sorry, we're on another trail. We're on the next trail on that list. We just passed through Xenia Station, and we're on our way to, I think the next town is Cedarville. How nice. Connect all those wonderful trails, turn it into this big, beautiful trail. I think this is designated as Ohio Bike Route 1. I think the signs say 1, but I've also heard that they're going to connect it to a broader U.S. system, and then it's going to have a different number for the U.S. bike route system. So stay tuned. Take care, man. See ya. If that's confusing, I had to stop and he went on. So he just turned around, he's going back. Nice guy. right, when you get on a big long rail stretch like this, it's a perfect time to do famous people from the area. Okay, our famous people today begin with somebody that actually was before I stopped yesterday. Lebanon, Ohio. Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson wasn't born there, but he was raised there, grew up there, graduated from Lebanon High School. And I think my favorite bit of trivia is he worked at Kings Island. It's a big amusement park outside Cincinnati. And based on our ages, he would have been a worker when I went there. Woody Harrelson probably told me, hey, don't sit on the railing. Just north of Xenia, northwest is Dayton. So, second person, Rob Lowe. Everybody knows Rob Lowe. Whenever I think of Rob Lowe, I think about how he talks that, he does that thing with his mouth. There's my Rob Lowe impression. It looks just like him, I'm sure. Okay, but one of the reasons I want to do this now is just north of here, not too far away. It's the town of Yellow Springs. And Yellow Springs has two sons. One is John Lithgow, or Lithgow. Everybody knows him. Come on. He's been in everything. But the second one, I could give you 2,000 guesses and you're not gonna get it. You're never gonna get it. Because I had to look this up. I didn't believe it myself. All right, let's play a little game. I'm gonna give you facts. And I don't know, see if these facts give you any insights. So this person was born in Washington, D.C. His mother was some kind of diplomat or envoy for the, what is it called? Republic of Congo, I think. Is that the proper name? I don't know, sorry. To all the Congolese out there. His father was a professor. And they divorced when he was young. And his father came out to Wright State University, which is nearby. And so this particular person divided his time between DC and Yellow Springs. He must have liked it because he bought a home in Yellow Springs. And today, I should say, he lives on a farm. And according to his own press, he lives there full-time on a large farm. So this guy, how you doing? Went on to become an actor, a comedian, probably known more as a comedian, and well, he's quite a character. I don't know what else I could say about it. I don't know other details. All right, you got a name? You got a person in mind? Because I'm telling you right now, I'd be amazed if you know who this is. I'm gonna give you a few minutes to think about it. I'll be back. I'm sorry, I have stooped to a new low on getting people to continue to watch a video. Oh. Okay, you got anybody in mind? I purposely left one fact off because this is going to give it away. He had a wildly popular TV show and he walked away from it. You know now, right? You know, okay. 3 cheers for Dave Chappelle. Again, if you're riding around here, the last person that you're gonna expect to run into is Dave Chappelle. And yet I've heard that if you happen to visit Yellow Springs, you might just run into Dave Chappelle because he's active member of the community, and he that's his home. He says it. He's an intensely private person. So getting that information took some Googling, digging deep on Google. But anyway, Dave Chappelle, let's just call him our VIP of the day. You know what makes my heart beat really fast is when I see a bunch of signs like that. All right, I thought this was history, but it's actually a series of little stations telling a kid's story. This is the public library right next to me. So, okay, cool. I'm all for reading, so, you know. Uh-oh. The skunk doesn't see the raccoon in time to run away. Why did they spell that skink? I think they meant to say skunk. Oh no, the skink is the lizard. Sorry, my bad. What did I just say? Did I say Centerville? Cedarville. It's Cedarville. Cedarville's a great town. Got a great college. Many friends that went to Cedarville College. My roommate dated a girl from Cedarville College. You don't care about that. If you haven't picked up on it, this section is just long, straight. If you had really good eyes or a telescope, yeah, you could see where I'm going to stop for the night. All right, you might be asking, how are we going to get through this long stretch? We're going to do a history lesson. Okay, yesterday, in my desire to tell you everything about my hometown, I just sort of skipped over all like Ohio history, so we're going to do that quickly. And we're going to save ancient history of Ohio for tomorrow, because we're going to go down one of my favorite rabbit holes tomorrow. So you got to stay tuned. It's one of my favorite topics. We'll get to that tomorrow. Okay, we're going to begin Ohio history in the mid 1600s, when the French explorer La Salle came up the Mississippi and the Ohio, and he claimed the Ohio River Valley for France. Good for him. And you know, that went on for I think about 100 years. And then at the end of the French Indian Wars, the British took over and declared the area for Britain. Good for them. And then shortly after that was the Revolutionary War, at the end of which the US claimed the area claimed this area as, well, they labeled it as part of the Northwest Territory, which included Indiana, part of Illinois, Michigan. And don't you know, shortly after that, in 1803, Ohio became the United States' 17th state. Yeah, so Ohio owes a lot of its history, economic history, to two companies, and they're both 1800s companies. One was, well, started in Cincinnati, the great Procter & Gamble. A little trivia there: when Procter & Gamble opened its massive twin tower building, I played in a big band at the opening day, the Blue Whiz Big Band. If you're familiar with the Blue Whiz Big Band, hey, you know, that was a good big band. It still is, still around. I played with them dozens of times. That was a whole nother life. Anyway, that's number one. Number two is up near Akron. You know, western Pennsylvania and eastern Ohio, very rich in oil. So the Goodyear Company opened in Akron. I believe they're still headquartered there. Their history's there. So anyway, there you go, two big companies from Ohio. And you know, today, well, Ohio is one of those states that just kind of hangs in there. I don't think the population is necessarily growing, but you know, it stays constant, I think. It is the 34th state in terms of landmass, but this is a shocker. It is the 7th in population. I don't think people grasp that. Of course, none of them are around here. The 7th largest in population. So let's hear it for Ohio. And again, stay tuned tomorrow because we're going to talk about ancient history tomorrow. And get ready because oh, it's a fun topic to talk about. All right, I think we've got about another 12 miles to London, where I'm going to stop for the day. All right, where are we? I think this is Charleston. It is South Charleston. There's the sign. Well, I stopped for coffee thinking I would avoid the rain. I don't know, maybe we'll. It's just kind of spitting a little bit, but the weather maps show storm clouds blowing in. I can see it, it's coming this way. But anyway, you know what's been going through my head today? Well, in addition to all the random crap going on in my brain today, last night before I turned off the light, I was reflecting on the day, and well, I was reflecting on what it means to be thankful in life. And the great dilemma of being thankful, and indeed just making sense of life, is that the big question is, why do bad things happen to good people, right? That's one of the great philosophical dilemmas when trying to just figure out what's going on. And by the way, I don't mean to trivialize bad things happening to good people. It's hard to watch what's going on in the Middle East right now and not be completely disheartened. So take this with a bit of levity. But last night I was reflecting on when my rear rack fell off with the panniers on it. And I sat there and stared at that thing for probably 5-10 minutes, trying to figure out how this thing was put together. You know, my racks came with my bike, and I can't say I spent a whole lot of time looking at them, like how they were made, or, you know, all I've really ever done is take them on and off every now and then. But when they came off, I said, you know, okay, obviously there was a piece of something that fell off. I turned around and I walked down the trail, probably a good 200 feet. I didn't see anything. And so I'd given up hope. I carry zip ties, and I thought I'm just gonna have to, you know, figure something out, get to the next bike station. And then something almost, well, it's, I don't, yeah, it's an exaggeration, but whatever. It was almost miraculous. I looked down, and the two little fixtures, I don't know what you want to call them, tighteners, fasteners, whatever. I didn't know what I was looking for. I had no idea what I was looking for. I just saw two pieces of black metal. They're sitting right next to one another on a pile of leaves, and it caught it out of the corner of my eye. The fact that I found those, it's just, I mean, honestly, it's incredible. So back to good things happening to bad things happen to good people. What about when good things happen? And whether good or bad people, just good things happen to people. That was amazing. I mean, seriously, that was amazing. And at the time I didn't really think about it. And last night I was laying there in bed thinking, that's incredible that you found those things. That was a literal needle in a haystack. So what that leads me to come back to is, again, being thankful in life. There have been books written about when bad things happen to good people. What if we wrote books about when good things happen to people? Maybe that's the definition of being thankful in life, is you deliberately take the time to think about the good stuff that happens. Now again, that's not mean you stick your head in the sand over bad things. We don't get a cop-out or excuse from that. But how would the world, and how would you, how would I be different if we spent more deliberate time being thankful for the good things that happen? Don't have to happen. I didn't have to find those things yesterday. Does that make any sense? There you go. Well, go back to more random thinking. Here we are, London. Awesome. It's cold this morning. That's the big news. It's 40 degrees. When I was packing for this trip, I looked at the forecast and the lows were upper 50s, almost 60. And when I was packing my bag, I got almost done and there was a space. And I thought, you know what? I'm gonna throw, well, the jacket I have on, I'm gonna throw this in there. Who knows? It got down very cold last night. I don't know if it hit freezing. There was a frost alert when I went to bed. Anyway, and there's rain in the forecast for today again. So we'll see what happens. I'm off to Columbus today. I'm trying to get through Columbus and then I'm staying on the other side of Columbus. So, well, the air is absolutely fresh and wonderful. There was rain last night, so it's, you know how the air feels after that. It's just cold. Beautiful landscape here. Ohio has some incredible natural beauty. This little spot right here is funny. I stopped here when I rode this before and we were being swarmed by cicadas. How times change. Did I mention it's cold today? Okay, history. I promised you we were gonna go down a rabbit hole. I promised you it was gonna be one of my favorite rabbit holes, and it is. How many of you, well, that grew up in the 70s, remember In Search Of? Leonard Nimoy, what a great show. I loved it. I could not get enough of it. I was one of those kids that, yeah, I loved it. Anyway, today's rabbit hole is sort of related. It's kind of an In Search Of type topic, and that is about ancient history. And this area is fascinating when it comes to ancient history. So we'll get there. You know, when you were taught history, you know, let's be honest, a lot of school history is very Eurocentric. We learned, or at least are taught, that civilization started somewhere in Mesopotamia, and it's branched out, and well, how the heck did people get in North America? Well, 10,000-15,000 years ago, there was a land bridge across the Bering Strait. And I love how some textbooks show, you know, it's like cavemen and woolly mammoths, like they're in a parade or something going across the Bering Strait. And then, you know, they come into North America and roam around, and, you know, we have this picture of very peaceful, nomadic, hunter-gatherer type societies. And then, you know, okay, next thing you know, Ponce de Leon or Christopher Columbus or Pilgrims or whatever. And everything in between is just, oh yeah, you know, 10,000 years ago up till, you know, whatever. So anyway, several hundreds of years ago, and everything in between is just, well, here's the problem. As science has gotten more sophisticated with technologies like LiDAR, if you've ever seen that, you know, we've got these satellites that can look down at the earth and see things underneath the surface, underneath the crust, that we didn't know. For example, where we're riding right now, there was an impact crater from a meteor that struck this area. I think it's like 12 miles in circumference, right here. You don't see it because it's eroded away a lot of times, but again, from satellite images, you certainly see it. We'll come back to that. So as science has gotten better, it's modified a lot of those beliefs and a lot of those history, not so much beliefs, history that we're taught. And there's a couple things that are interesting. One is that civilization here is much older than what's in the official record. Again, we think that people showed up here 10,000-15,000 years ago, and we're finding that, scientists are finding, that there's civilizations here that are 20, 25, 30,000 years. And that's one. Number two is, they weren't so hunter-gatherer societies. They were actually way more sophisticated. Down the river, closer to St. Louis, which is kind of all this same area, in my opinion, there was the city, ancient city of Cahokia. This isn't a made-up thing. This is real. I promise you. And they think that as many as 50,000 people lived in Cahokia. With sophisticated cities, you know, like buildings and structures and an economy. Anyway, all right, why do I bring that up around here? Well, because every good southwestern Ohio student visited a place nearby here called Serpent Mound. I think I went in 5th or 6th grade. And from the surface, you know, it's kind of boring. It's a mound, and it's in the shape of a serpent, but you really don't see that from the ground. From the air, it's pretty incredible. It's this windy serpent, and at the head, there's the open jaws of the snake, and there's a circle. What is that circle? Nobody knows. What's the point? What's the snake for? Nobody knows. And, you know, there's a plaque there that you can read that tells you that it was created around 1,000 years ago. except that, again, when scientists are looking at dating, this thing's much older. Much older, which is kind of the case of modern archaeology today. The world keeps getting older. Mankind keeps getting older. That our recorded record of, you know, 5,500, 6,000 years of recorded history, there was potentially a lot more going on in the past. So there's your rabbit hole. Oh, and by the way, Serpent Mound was not alone. There were many other mounds, and again, they don't know what these mounds were for. Were they burial grounds? Maybe. They don't find, you know, bodies or things like that. It's probably too long, which tells you that it's older. And bones, not bodies. Bodies. They don't find the bones anywhere. But a lot of these mounds, of course, were removed because people came and settled and built cities and roads, and, you know, they moved these things out. Serpent Mound was rescued by a scientific society back in, I think, might have been the 1800s, that wanted to preserve it. And it's great they did. So the interesting thing about Serpent Mound is nobody knows what it's about, but it has some interesting characteristics. The mouth of the serpent, it's open with this, you know, this circle, which people don't know if that represents like nobody knows. I'm just gonna leave it there. But it points in the direction of the summer solstice. It aligns, and there's parts of the tail that align with the lunar calendar. Okay, now we're gonna go down like a serious rabbit hole. It doesn't align perfectly. It's a little off. But you know, the Earth shifts over time, and millions of years or hundreds of thousands of years go by, thousands of years. Okay, so there was a period in history, somewhere like, I think like maybe 16,000 years ago, there was some cataclysmic events on Earth. Again, this isn't like in search of theory. This is stuff that they recognize. If you drill down and take core samples, there's this period where you find scorched earth, you know, dust and burnt particles, and something that indicates that there was something big, you know, a meteor hit the planet, or, you know, something existential that was... I gotta stop cars. All right, I'm back. So something cataclysmic happened, and so when they adjust for the position of the Earth and the, you know, the change in its position relative to the sun and other things, and they turn back time, guess when it perfectly aligns? It perfectly aligns with the summer solstice during the time of those cataclysmic events. And it's not just here. There's places all over the globe that this is true. When they turn back the hands of time, there's this record where lots of ancient civilizations, they don't know, were they trying to communicate something? Were they trying to point to when all the signs were lined up for something that happened in history? I just think it's fascinating, and I don't lose sleep over it, and I don't get in fist fights about it. But if you want to learn more, there is I think it's fun to watch. There's a Netflix series called Ancient Apocalypse, and it's put together by a gentleman named Graham Hancock, who some people think is just a crackpot. I think he's really interesting, and I think the stuff that he puts together is, well, I think it's fun to look into. So there's your ancient history from right this area that you probably never think about, but something historical was going on here long ago. And so as my tires are gliding across this, I just paused to take it in. This little short gravel section. This is pretty funny. Was that history a little too much? Is that a little intense? All right, let's lighten the mood a little bit with famous people from Columbus, Ohio. All right, 4 people of fame, 2 sports figures. Jack Nicklaus, the Golden Bear. Buster Douglas, tremendous boxer. Then maybe slightly more obscure, Beverly D'Angelo. Everybody's favorite vacation mom. And then finally, when I saw this name, it cracked me up. You know, I've made light of my fascination with Barbara Eden. But if you were a young kid, a young male kid, growing up, late 60s, early 70s, what hope did you have? Barbara Eden, Julie Newmar, Elizabeth Montgomery, some of the most beautiful women to walk the planet. Okay, I'm gonna add one more. Yvonne Craig. Anybody remember Yvonne Craig? Well, she starred in a lot of things, but she was Batgirl. And honestly, I think my fascination with Batgirl was because she was so smart. Do you guys remember that series? I don't think people remember. I think that's what made the series so funny. Batman and Robin were doofuses. They were some of the dumbest people. They were so stupid. They were always getting caught. Oh, here's 270. Okay. Adam West, one of the funniest guys ever. But Batman was constantly getting caught. But not Batgirl. Batgirl was smart. She knew what she was doing. She was always outwitting people. She was smarter than Batman, that's for sure. All right, Yvonne Craig, Columbus native, we honor you today. All right, we're in the outskirts of Columbus, and Columbus is a maze, so please concentrate with me, all right? Help me out here. We gotta make it through here. Downtown. Downtown, okay. Wow. It's not that it's a maze. There are so many bike trails in Columbus. I think that's it. And you don't always know if you're on the right one. History of Columbus. I'm gonna give it to you anyway. Columbus, obviously the capital of Ohio, it wasn't always the center of, you know, politics and whatnot. Marietta was the first settlement recognized in Ohio, but you know, obviously there were other cities, Cincinnati and Cleveland, and Columbus was kind of a strange choice for capital because it was landlocked. It wasn't connected to any waterway. In, you know, literally turn of the century, 1803. So that changed during the golden era of canal building. Ohio had 2 canals. One started in Toledo and connected all the way, went due south, connected with the Ohio River at Cincinnati. In fact, a lot of Cincinnatians aren't aware that Central Parkway was a canal. They don't know that. They also don't know that it was almost the site of the Cincinnati subway, but that's a whole nother bit of history. All right, the other canal is part of this trail. I'm not gonna ride on it, unfortunately, this trip, but started in Cleveland, kind of went straight south, got to the middle of the state, hung a right, went over to Columbus, hung a left, and went straight down to Portsmouth. And of course, when the canal came through, then it started to bring a lot more commerce and the city started to grow. The other thing that was built that has its whole other history all by itself is the National Road. I was reading about this the other night. This is really interesting. This was really the first road, like, you know, not a dirt path. We're talking about crushed rock and cement, or a form of cement. They connected Baltimore. I think it went all the way to Springfield, Illinois. The National Road. I'll have to talk about that someday, but not today. And not now, because I really have to concentrate. This is a very, very confusing part. Okay. All right, let the backtracking begin. Would you look at that? That was by random luck. You know, some of you write to me and you say, Brian, what's wrong with you, man? Use some technology. Use a map, use an app. Okay, I did, and twice it kept taking me back to that construction point that was closed. Technology ain't perfect, so I prefer just to wander around and get lost. I was just here. I was just here. I'm not going to disparage the app that I was using, but I'm using a well-known app. I resorted to Google as well, but only because this other app is completely screwed up. All right. I, Brian Waymeyer, being of sound mind. This is my last will and testament. Because apparently I cannot leave Columbus. I know. Okay, how you can't hear that? It's giving me directions. It's telling me to go back where I was. is not good. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. I think I'm on that trail now. I think. I got some advice for you. Don't take advice from me. Go ahead and unsubscribe if you want. If you're thinking about subscribing, just think again. What a mess. So of course Columbus is also home to the Ohio State University Buckeyes. What's a Buckeye? A Buckeye is a nut. It falls from the Buckeye tree, which is indigenous to Ohio. I've been looking for Buckeyes on the trail. I haven't seen any. I'll find one and show it to you. Either that or I will stop at a store and get some. Buckeyes are also a popular candy here. My mother had a recipe for Buckeyes. It was awesome. It's peanut butter fudge coated in chocolate. How you doing? And it's coated in chocolate up to a little point. It leaves a little circle for the eye, like the buck's eye. That's what it's supposed to look like. Stopped for a good long smile break. If you're new to this channel, a smile break is a break you take until you're smiling again. I felt a little bit better. A cyclist stopped there at the bench named Paul. Thank you, Paul. You lifted my spirits. Paul lives in Columbus. Paul has ridden the Ohio to Erie Trail many times. And he says he has never seen Columbus more confusing than it is right now. Now, he could have been saying that because he saw that I was sort of dejected. Anyway, Paul, you made me feel better. And I'm smiling again. Woohoo! Crossing over this creek. I think it's called Alum or Alum Creek. As you know, I've been trying to expand my vocabulary. I learned a word last week I didn't know that I was going to use this week. It's a great word. Apricity. A-P-R-I-C-I-T-Y. Apricity. It refers to the feeling you have of the sun against your skin on a cold day. Isn't that a great word? Apricity. Apparently it was a word, they call it an obsolete word now. It's no longer part of just our standard vocabulary. It was a word commonly used in the 1600s. What a great word. Right there. Ah. Good morning. No, it's not. Good afternoon. It is just afternoon. When I woke up this morning to engage in my hunter-gatherer behavior to find coffee, it was 30 degrees. So I looked at the forecast and realized that the temperatures were going to go up, which they are. It's about 50 degrees right now, which feels great. But I took the late checkout at the hotel offered, did a little workout in the gym, enjoyed a luxurious second cup of coffee, and just chilled. It was awesome. Yeah, it was cold this morning. Heck, normally I'm almost where I need to be at this point. So, but you know what? I am enjoying the apricity of the noon sun on my back. I keep saying good morning to people. I'm out of my element. So yesterday, all the shenanigans getting through Columbus, it reminded me of a family vacation. It's probably scarred my kids for life. Took the family down to Myrtle Beach, and of course we took the most direct route we could to get there. But on the way back, I did what every dad does at some point in his life. I said, let's take the back roads on the way back. Let's enjoy the countryside. And you know, everybody looked at me with a raised eyebrow like, what do you, come on. Well, this goes back to the time when, you know, your phone wasn't a 24/7 live traffic GPS device. I had an actual GPS unit made by Garmin for the car. Probably got it around the house somewhere. So I started plugging in towns and cities along the coast. Otherwise, it was just going to keep rerouting me out to the main highway, 95. I think it's 95. Anyway, everything was great. So we got to North Carolina. And then all of a sudden, it started saying, recalculating. And, you know, the road we were on went to a smaller road, to a smaller road, to a gravel road. And then it would just proudly exclaim, you have arrived. And we're out in the middle of nowhere. So I had to put in the city again, press go, start going. Same thing. It probably happened 3-4 times. At that point, I think people were almost to the point of tears, because we were driving around in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, for several hours. That's what yesterday felt like to me. And when I looked at it last night, I kind of figured it out. I really was only lost for about 5 miles, maybe 6. But here's a pro tip. If that starts happening to you, and you go into Google, this was the mistake I made. How you doing? Mistake I made is I left it on the bike routing. So he kept trying to take me back to the bike trails that were obviously closed and detoured. And so when I switched over to roads, just normal streets, you know, a few miles I was back on course. You probably already knew that, and you're saying, Brian, what's wrong with you? But I didn't, you know. Live and learn, they say. The other thing made me yesterday think about was my buddy Carl. You know why I like riding with Carl? Yeah, he's a good man. That's probably the biggest reason. A good friend. But he's got a much better sense of direction than I do. I used to think I had a good sense of direction. Bike touring has made me question that. The other thing Carl has is an early detection skill. He knows we're lost way earlier than me. I will go way out of my way, and he's more aware. He knows we're lost. I tried to talk him into coming on this trip, but since Carl's a good man and a hard worker instead of a bum like me, you know, Carl's being a productive member of society. So good for you, Carl. Certainly missed you yesterday, buddy. Squares where I feel like I could be anywhere. Hi. Oh, Sunbury. Sunbury. How you doing? You ready for some famous people? All right, I know how much you love this segment, and I don't want to disappoint you, but I want you to know how hard I had to work to find today's references. As we get further and further out in the countryside, I'm telling you, you know, we're not going to find that Steven Spielberg, Julie Haggerty. Well, I don't know. All right. I also had to stretch the border. I tried to do people that are near to where we're at. It's just a little bit north, not too far. Mansfield, Ohio. Luke Perry. Luke Perry, the star of... Oh, what was that show? Can't remember. All the kids, the teenagers with all the angst. I know, you're yelling it at the screen right now. Yell louder, I can't hear you. Oh, what was, it'll come to me. All right. My favorite Luke Perry reference is that Luke Perry is the half brother of Krusty the Clown. Look it up. I don't know the episode, but Mount Vernon, which is where I'm headed right now. Native son, comedian Paul Lynde. Everybody remember Paul Lynde? That goes back a ways. Hollywood Squares. Paul Lynde had a unique style of humor. I don't know how it would go over today. He'd probably be canceled. Oh, I don't know. Funny guy. Paul Lynde. All right, third reference. This is it. I found this most interesting. I'm saving best for last. Johnny Appleseed. Did you know that Johnny Appleseed was a real person? I did not know that. His name was Johnny Chapman. He was born in Massachusetts in the later half of the 1700s. And when he turned 18, he and his, I think, a 12-year-old brother left the family farm and just started traveling, nomadic lifestyle. All over the place, by the way. And this is late 1700s. We're not talking about, like, you know, he stayed in a Marriott Aloft last night. Anyway, his father moved from Massachusetts out to this part of the country, right around here. This is Licking River and Muskegon River, around this section, maybe a little further south, not too far. And he bought a farm, and the sons came back to live on the farm. And it was there that Johnny learned his, through an apprenticeship, he learned his arborist skills. And you know, if you learned about Johnny Appleseed, he got this idea in his head. He's just throwing seeds indiscriminately all over the place. No, what he would do is he actually would plant apple orchards for communities and towns. He was also a missionary. So he would show up and do his mission thing, and then he would help the community to plant apple orchards. So there you go. I hope you found that interesting. Johnny Appleseed, real person. Not just a legend. Well, he was a legend, but a real legend. What have we here? Oh, these are two bikes, two people. I thought that was one bike. How you doing? Hi. The Heart of Ohio Trail. I feel a lot better right now. I just stopped and talked to a couple guys on their bikes. They are also headed north on the trail. They're going all the way through to Cleveland. Anyway, they too went through Columbus yesterday, and they also got terribly lost. So I feel a little bit better. I was really down on myself yesterday. Go ahead and unsubscribe if you want. I don't know. I hate when that kind of stuff happens. I gotta learn to just relax, chill out. It happens. But yeah, I had some off-screen moments. They were not pleasant before the apricity set in. Anyway, wow, those guys are going through to where I'm going to end tomorrow. You guys better get a move on, or you're not gonna get in there before sunset. Wow, anyway, okay, onward. Thanks, guys. Okay, so everything was going great today. And then all of a sudden my rear tire decided it no longer wanted to serve the purpose of a rear tire. I was sick of containing air and went absolutely flat, like it's, you know, toast. So I had just crossed a side road about, I don't know, quarter mile maybe behind me. So took my panniers off, put them over my shoulders because I didn't want to drag my back tire. I was afraid it would ruin it. So I kind of carried the back of my bike, and I got to the crossroad, waited for traffic, thinking maybe I might be able to hitchhike my way into town. That didn't happen, so I pulled up Uber, and Uber just churned. That's when you know you're out in the middle of nowhere. So then I walked about another quarter mile to a main road, and wouldn't you know, because we're in Ohio, and because people here are incredibly friendly and kind-hearted, a gentleman pulled up in a truck. It wasn't aliens. I'm sorry. That was just special effects. And this nice gentleman drove me all the way 13 miles here into the town of Mount Vernon. There's a bike shop. It is closed on Mondays. And it's Monday. Feels like Saturday, but it's Monday. Anyway, I'm going to go there and try to get it fixed in the morning and be back on my way. You just got to be flexible. You got to accept what comes your way. And rebellious back tires, it's part of the experience. So for tonight, I'm going to go out in the wonderful town of Mount Vernon. I'm going to go try to find some dinner. And then do what I do, go to sleep. And I hope that if you're out today on your bike, that your back tire is treating you well, okay? You have a good night. All right, good morning. Yeah, the good news of the day is, you can tell, they got me up and running. Dave at Why Not Cyclery bike shop right there in Mount Vernon. What a rock star. Dave got me in and fixed up this morning, and wow, just super appreciate that kindness. I was really up a creek. That's the downside of tubeless tires, that, you know, you just gotta take the good with the bad. But man, when they go that flat, you're screwed. The sealant inside my tire was literally just dried up. There was nothing there. I got to learn about that. I'm not up on my tubeless tire trivia. Well, not trivia, just how it works. I need to research a little bit better. But anyway, morning. I am up and running. So today, gonna go through to Millersburg and a little bit beyond. I think I've got about maybe 50 miles today. It's gonna warm up. It's supposed to hit 70 today, so this sweatshirt isn't gonna last much longer. Beautiful day. All right, this is the Kokosing Trail. sorry if I've been kind of quiet this morning, and partially it's because well, like my tire yesterday afternoon, my brain exploded last night. I had a grain-based cold beverage last night. Of course it was pumpkin infused. Everything's pumpkin infused right now. My gosh, I went down for breakfast this morning. Pumpkin waffles, pumpkin coffee, pumpkin cream cheese, everything pumpkin. Anyway, as I was consuming that cold, wonderful beverage last night, I did something really dangerous. I started watching Brian Cox videos on YouTube. You know what Brian Cox is? Brian Cox is a scientist in the UK. He's a rock star of the science world. In fact, I discovered the other day, he was also a rock star. I just love that. Oh my gosh. He was in a rock band. All right, well, anyway, the interview I was watching, which by the way, I'm gonna put in the description. You go down and click on it if you want your brain to explode. You know, he's asked the age-old question, are we alone in the universe? It always reminds me of Isaac Asimov's answer to that. He said, well, we're either alone or we're not. And both of those conclusions are terrifying. So, anyway, his answer is very interesting, and I'm not going to repeat it all here. Sorry, short pause, because we are coming up on a landmark called the Bridge of Dreams. It is, I don't know if it's the longest covered bridge in the state. I think it might be the longest covered bridge in the state. It was not covered until this trail was put together. And it was just a rail bridge, you know, just a rail bridge. And then they covered it, and they called it the Bridge of Dreams to express how optimistic they were about the Ohio to Erie Trail and what it would do for the state. Isn't that beautiful? All right, back to Brian Cox. Brian Cox to me is, he's what I wish many more scientists were like. He's wonderfully inquisitive. He is soft-spoken and humble. And he's incredibly brilliant. Probably a modern genius. But he's not afraid to say the three words that I find a lot of human beings afraid to say. I don't know. Is that three words? Hey, can somebody help me out? Is a contraction, it contracts two words, but does that make it one word? Two words or one word. Anyway, three words or four words, whatever. I don't know. He's not afraid to say that. Man, we need more of that in the world today. There's a quote I read the other day. The ignorance of man is not so much a problem as compared to the things that he's so sure that he knows. Something like that. Anyway, so the question was put to him, are we alone in the universe? And he limits that to the Milky Way, and he says, he makes the case that, guess what? It looks like we are. And he makes that case because, okay, we just joined the Holmes Trail, by the way. Is that there's been a lot of time, you know, visible universe, I think somewhere around 13.5 billion years. And complex life started 500 million years ago. So anyway, I'm not going to repeat his whole video, but he makes the case that there's been a lot of time. And if you look at us, you know, modern science is only about 500 years. We've gone from Copernicus, you know, understanding we're not the center of the universe. We've gone from leeches, cure all medical woes. So, you know, now we're on the cusp of
sending people to Mars, and you know, we're exploring more of our solar system. And so his point is, if that took us 500 years, and you know, Milky Way galaxy's been around for a long time, there should be evidence, there should be something else out there. We should see the signature of other intelligent life, and we haven't. So that actually didn't explode my brain. What exploded my brain was his follow-up. As he said, you know, okay, that gives you some answer, but that's not the point. Is what does that mean? What do we do with that? You know, we're on one planet going around a sun, a star, one star out of somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 million other stars in the Milky Way. Let's say there's 10 planets around each one of those stars. What we should be doing is recognizing how precious life is. We ought to treat one another that way. I'm sorry, this is pretty deep for a, what is today? Tuesday. Tuesday morning. We ought to treat one another better. Maybe calm the down. Not be so sure of what we think we know. That is probably the root of the majority of conflicts plaguing our planet right now. Treat people with love and care. I mean, just today. Look, I'm gonna put a challenge out there. Walk outside today. Look up at the beautiful trees. Wave to your neighbor. Recognize this is pretty incredible. You and I are alive today. We're experiencing something that is just a statistical, such a, it's just amazing. Anyway, and then my brain exploded and I went to sleep. So, and I'm starting to climb. I remember this part. It goes up over a fairly decent sized hill. All right, there you go. Sorry. Just, that's been rumbling around in my gray matter today. Thanks for letting me share that. Oh, bummer, dude. I just stopped to talk to a guy. He just rode off and left his bottle. What a bummer. I just stopped here. This place used to be called, well, it's called Baddow Pass. It was a rail line, and there were a ton of wrecks here. They called it Bad Old Pass, but I guess over time it turned into Baddow Pass. And you can see the curve here. It kind of came up in the sharp curve at the top of the hill and then went down the other side, and there were tons and tons of wrecks here. But this is the top. So it's downhill to Glenmont now. Hey Carl, you remember climbing this? It's a lot easier going down. You know, I am long overdue to thank a subscriber. His name's Joe. I'm not going to share your whole name. I never do that for privacy's sake. But Joe shared this comment. Oh my gosh, and it made my day. You, my friend, are a super subscriber, okay? Oh, that was funny. Thank you, Joe. All right, you ready for some famous people? Today's gonna be short because, well, I already explained my dilemma. But, you know, I said earlier on, Ohio gave you two professional sports, baseball and professional football. So, I mean, what more could Ohio do for you? Jeez. But the little town of Massillon, which is, well, it's way beyond where I'm going today. I'm stopping in Millersburg. I think I told you that. I will come another day and ride the rest of this trail, but the little town of Massillon is the birthplace of two incredible sports icons. One is Mr. Bobby Knight, the ever patient, quiet, timid Bobby Knight. Number two is near and dear to my heart, Mr. Paul Brown. If you don't know who Paul Brown is, well, you know, the Bengals stadium is Paul Brown Stadium. The Browns are named after the Brown family. So, you know, think about that. He started he started the Browns and then went down and started the Bengals. Coached the Bengals and was in the front office for the Bengals for a lot of years. Good man. There you go. Quick and to the point. Ah, it's fun going downhill. My goodness, look at those hillsides. Is that beautiful or what? Wow. And I just got down in the valley. Oh, it's happening again. Getting smacked by all these bugs, and I thought, you know, it's not gnats. They're ladybugs. Take a ladybug to the face. That stings. All right, killbuck. I don't know what all the hatred is about Buck. What did he ever do? What a great town square. Center of center of Main Street. This is a beautiful little town. Wow. I'm a little bit confused. The sign back there said I got less than 10 miles. That can't be right. I haven't been riding that fast. Maybe I have. Maybe I have. Well, in that case, it's time for some history. All right, I got two bits of history today. One bit, it's about the Ohio flag, the state flag, not Ohio State, the state of Ohio flag. It's unique in that it is the only non-rectangular flag, state flag, in the United States. I believe the shape is called a burgee shape. Hi, how you doing? Oh, we got a wreck up here. Sorry, just a sec. All right, public service announcement. Keep your eyes on the trail, folks. That person ran right into a tree that had fallen on the trail. I shouldn't laugh, but how do you run into a tree? Anyway, all right, where were we? History, yes. The burgee-shaped Ohio state flag. It's unique. Those wedges cut out are different. It took almost 100 years for Ohio to create a state flag. And well, it's got 17 stars because it's the 17th state. And there's mixed reports as to what that O is. Is that an O for Ohio? Or as some people have stated, when Ohio became a state, there was just a lot of optimism about where the country was going, and it was an O meant to represent unity. I think O for Ohio makes more sense. All right, that's history number one. History number two. Ohio has sometimes been called the mother of presidents. 8 US presidents have come from Ohio. I saw that on a plaque in the hotel this morning, and I should have looked closer because I've been racking my brain. When I'm not thinking about the preciousness of life in the universe, another corner of my brain has been trying to come up with the 8 presidents. And I think I can get 4 of them. Want to play along? Don't cheat. Don't go on pause and open up your browser and look it up. This is where I'd like to call my oldest son. My oldest son, for whatever reason, he has a filing cabinet for a brain. And he is a collector of factoids. I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. He's way smarter than I am in that regard. Well, in most regards. That goes for both my kids. Isn't that a good thing if you raise your kids to be smarter than you? I don't know. Anyway, okay. Let's go. Let's try to get all 8. So I'm going to go with the 2 most obvious, and those are Cincinnatians. I believe there's 2 or 3. Oh, there's 3. Ulysses Grant. He was born just outside of Ohio, further up the Ohio River, just a little ways. Ulysses Grant. Then there's William Howard Taft. These are easy for a Cincinnatian because there's Taft Museum, and what's right next to Taft Museum, Cincinnatians? Garfield Place. So Garfield. So that gives us 3. Oh, come on, I had one more this morning. Oh, yeah, right. So, for any of you who have ridden the Virginia Capitol Trail, I'm sorry, I got to upshift. Hold on a second. There we go. I'm pedaling like a hamster on a wheel. Yeah, if you've ever ridden the Virginia Capitol Trail, which I would encourage you to do, or just watch the video. No, go ride it. It's a great trail. Richmond, Virginia to Jamestown, the Jamestown settlement. Okay, William Henry Harrison is born along that trail. And even though he was born there, he moved to Ohio. And it was in Ohio that he was elected as president. So that's why we take him as an Ohio president. The other 7 were all born in Ohio. So that gets us 4. Oh, 5th is his grandson. Jeez, that's an easy one. His grandson, Benjamin Harrison. All right, that leaves us with 3. I'm gonna cut out the pondering. Okay, McKinley. The reason I remember McKinley is McKinley and Garfield were assassinated. And I remember there were 2 presidents from Ohio that were assassinated. I don't think I'm gonna get the last 2. All right. Sorry. All right, honestly, did any of you get all of them? Any of you know the last two? Do any of you care? Oh, I should know these last two. This is gonna bug me. I'm gonna have to pull off and look it up on my phone. I wouldn't have ever gotten them. William G. Harding and Rutherford B. Hayes. There you go, to complete out the 8. Anyway, what was the point? The mother of presidents, right here. All right, does this rail trail seem extra wide to you? It should, because it is. Northeastern Ohio is home to the second largest Amish community in the country, second only to Pennsylvania. And when they built this rail trail, they purposefully made it wide enough. How you doing? They purposely made it wide enough to accommodate horse and buggy traffic. I don't know if we'll see any today, but I saw quite a few last year. How nice. Share the trail. All right, a little short bonus history. If Ohio could be called the mother of presidents, it could also be called the mother of astronauts. 25 NASA astronauts have come from the state of Ohio, including 3 of the biggest. Jim Lovell, Apollo 13. Houston, we have a problem, Jim Lovell, right? Jim Lovell. I think that's Jim Lovell. Played by Tom Hanks. How would you love to be played by Tom Hanks? How would you love to be played by Tom Hanks in your life? Jim Lovell. John Glenn. First man to orbit the Earth. If you've ever been to the Smithsonian and seen his spaceship, that's a garbage can with some switches and stuff. I don't know if he's incredibly brave or incredibly stupid or a combination. If you ever saw The Right Stuff, what a great movie. Fantastic movie. Anyway, John Glenn, Ohio native, also a longtime Ohio politician. I think he also holds the distinction as being the oldest person in space. He went up on the space shuttle as an old man. All right, and then, I'm sorry, the granddaddy of them all, Neil Armstrong. Wapakoneta, Ohio. That's up in the northeast corner of the state. He was also a professor at the University of Cincinnati for many, many years. I think at the time of his death, he was still a professor there. Neil Armstrong and 22 others. 22 other astronauts. All right, mother of presidents, mother of astronauts. Okay. I'm sorry, I just got one of the funniest emails. This is from a guy who watches the channel, Steve. And Well, Steve said some nice things about the channel. I appreciate that, Steve. Thank you. And then he proceeded to tell me about some incredibly studly rides he's done. But then he threw in a sentence. Please forgive my presumption that you are interested. Oh, Steve, the reason that cracks me up is that I feel that way every time I press the publish button on a video. I feel that way every time I share a little history or oh, that's just, I've just never said it so eloquently and to the point. Thank you, Steve. You made me laugh really hard. Erie Trail. I will ride more of you later. All right, how do I sum up this trip? You know, usually I go home and try to write something eloquent. Three things I'd like to sum up. One is, you know, sometimes we try to plan trips and we get wrapped around the axle and we almost just throw in the towel, and I almost did that on this trip. Long story, I couldn't make hotels fit into certain places and I couldn't leave on certain days, and I was just ready to throw in the towel. And instead, I went to bed, I woke up in the morning, and somehow it all fit together. Don't give up. Go enjoy these moments, because it relates to number 2. Get out there in the world, open your eyes and be amazed. This world is incredible. These hillsides filled with all these wonderful colors, and meeting all the beautiful people I met on this trip. It's an amazing experience. And number 3, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Love one another. This trip, I've had a heavy heart looking at what's going on in the world. The hate and the violence. You know, and people are, well, what can I do about it? I'll tell you what you can do. You can love people. It's not a new concept. It's just not, it doesn't seem to be practiced like it should. All right. Hey, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I greatly appreciate it. What's next? I'm going down to Florida. No, what's next is I'm gonna ride the Gap for a little bit, and then I'm gonna go down to Florida. So stay tuned. Again, take care. Thank you so much.